All right, so we're back today for a hand wire build, specifically a direct wire build, which I haven't done many on my channel, so kind of an interesting way to wire this up today. But we're doing mostly a meme build that kind of has some practical senses. We're basically reviving the T9 layout. I mean, you saw the thumbnail already. With that, we're just going to jump in and get started. So this here is the Scotto T9. Now, originally I was going to call this a Scotto Kia. It's actually what the branch is called on my repo right now because I didn't want people knowing what I was actually working on. I kind of kept this a little secret until now, but I didn't really like how Scotto Kia flowed, so I thought T9 made more sense. And of course, it is adapting the T9 layout, so just works better. So this is a Scotto T9 here, and as you can see, it is a very simple layout. Of course, just 12 keys here. We can pop the plate out. I did partially assemble it with these 8mm standoffs here. Here's the back of it. I have the feet on it and everything. So very simple, but the only thing I did do different on this from my other boards because of how this board is going to work. So if we look at it from the side here, you can see these edges are a lot more rounded than usual. And the reason is that you're going to kind of hold it like this. So kind of having those rounded makes it a little bit more comfortable. And then also up top here, you can see that there is no like flat part. It just kind of rounds directly into where the keycaps are going to go there. So what I'm going to do now is just the first step to any build, of course, is I'm going to grab my switches over here. These are some Yak Pandas, and these are actually sent to me in a keyboard by my buddy Sam, which some of you might have saw the stream on. I did the Scotto 69 with these switches, so I ripped them out of it. I had to clean these a lot. So Sam, you do know this, that these were disgusting. You spilled like a lot of soda on the board. I didn't record any of that process, but I did clean them up. We're just going to kind of recycle those into this board. They are a very nice little tactile switch, but we'll be using those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab the plate over here, and then I'm going to pop the switches into it. So there are the switches in the board there, as you can see. Then underneath we have them also. You can see I left some of the flux on there. I didn't really clean it off that well, which shouldn't really matter for this. It's just kind of on there as a side note. But at this point, what we have to do is actually, of course, start wiring up the board. And really, this is a very simple build. Like, I mean, as you can tell, it is only 12 switches here. And typically what I would do with my builds is if we flip this over, I would do a column and row. So we have our columns running across this way and then our rows running up this way, which would basically end up being about 7 wires. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows here, and then 1, 2, 3 columns. Each one of those would get a pin on the controller. Typical thing that I've normally done, where you'd also have the diodes on here. I've done lots of videos on that on my channel, but what I haven't covered a lot is actually direct wiring. So basically what direct wiring is it's very similar to a matrix with diodes, except of course you don't have any diodes in it, and it is direct wire. So basically every switch will get a pin on the controller. So what we have to do here really is we have to tie all these switches together so we can share a ground between them, and then each one will get an individual wire to a pin on the controller. There are multiple ways to kind of tie them together, but what I normally do is kind of grab something like this, which is a piece of 16 gauge copper wire here that I kind of cut and bent, and then if we actually put this on here, you can see it kind of perfectly would align with all of them there where we could solder it up, but I'm not going to do that in this one. The copper wire here is really nice because it does add a lot of rigidity to the board, but I wanted to kind of explore a different way that I've also covered a little bit, I think on my mouse video before on my channel. If I actually pop this off and grab this is some 30 gauge copper wire right here, and basically we're going to do the same thing as this bigger wire over here, except we're just going to kind of tie all the pins together like that. And now remember, this is direct wire, so we're just tying together a ground pin, so it means one pin from each switch, and then the other pin from the switch will go to a pin on the controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to grab my 30 gauge copper wire, I'm going to time lapse through actually tying those up, and then I can talk about it after I'm done with that. There are all the ground pins ready on there. As you can see, we just kind of tied it around there and then soldered it on. Very simple to do. And something else to note about this, if I actually grab this over here, this is the 16 gauge I normally use. If you look how much smaller the 30 gauge is, it is a lot more fragile, so technically it could fall apart a little easier. I've never really had that issue on my boards, but because there is less thermal mass on this, it's a lot easier to solder than this over here. Like, this isn't impossible to do, but especially for like a beginner, you need to kind of apply a lot more heat. You run a lot more risk of like damaging the components on your board or melting the plastic and stuff. So kind of that is something nice with this little 30 gauge here. Now, the other thing I do actually want to show you too is if I actually put this down and then I grab over here, I have some multimeter leads. So I can actually put it on here on the pin down there, and then if you listen really carefully right now, you can kind of hear basically they're all tied together. So that's the point of this, is that we're tying them all together for a ground pin. So basically these will all connect to just a single ground pin on the controller. Now, like I did mention, this is a direct wired board. So what that means now is that the next step is that we have all these free pins here. So we have 12 different switches. We have 12 free pins, meaning 12 different wires we're gonna have to run to the microcontroller to kind of get everything wired up. And then in firmware, you basically just define what pins you use. And it's pretty simple. I already did the firmware for this, so it's kind of ready to go. I'm gonna put this down now, and I'm gonna actually grab over here the controller we're gonna be using. This is an RP2040 Pro Micro. This is my favorite controller that I've had recently, probably for like the last year. I love this controller. Has a USB-C up top, of course. It is an RP2040 in the middle there, and then it has lots of GPIO. It has 16 megabytes of flash, so it's a great controller. I also sell them on my website if you want one, so you know, shameless plug there. But we're just gonna take this. We're gonna take this thing here. I'm gonna go through and wire everything up, and then we'll have a fully functional board. There it is, all wired up. As you can see, every single switch has a single pin on the controller, and they're all sharing this ground pin over there. Now, I did test the firmware. It is working, and at this point, all we have to do is just assemble it into the case, and then after that's done, I can actually talk about what is going on with this Keymap and how it really works. But what we're gonna do is put this down. We're gonna grab our case over here, which yet again is a little bit rounded to kind of help with that handheld. And what's gonna really tie this build together entirely is if I actually grab the keycaps here. This is something that I did on my last video, the Scotto Frog PCB, where I finally figured out I can do multiple legends. Yet again, we have these keycaps with multi-legends on them that will kind of tie it all together and make it look really nice. So I'm just going to assemble that into the case. I'm going to also use a little UV resin to kind of hold this controller in there. And after that, we can actually talk about how to type in this thing. So here it is, fully assembled, as you can see, and I think it looks really nice with the blue, the gray, and the black here. And probably some of you are catching on what I did here is that I did the original brick Nokia kind of color theme with the blue and gray here, which I think looks really, really nice. But what we have to do now, of course, is a typing test, or more of a typing explainer, because I want to explain how this works. Now, it may seem kind of complicated at first, but it really isn't. So at its core here, basically, we have our delete, we have our shift, and then space in the middle here. And then if you hold any of the numbers, you'll get the number. The other thing here is that this isn't really T9 in the sense that original T9 was a predictive typing model, meaning what you type, it kind of starts suggesting words based off that. This is basically just using a bunch of tap dance functions inside of QMK to kind of just multi-press keys to get text on it. Now, a lot of people did actually turn off the predictive aspect of T9, meaning they could just type what they wanted to, so it wasn't always accurate with what you wanted to type, and people were fast with it back in the day. But basically, that's how this works. So if I wanted to say type Y on here, I'd go 1, 2, 3, and that would type Y. If I wanted to type K, it'd be 2. Pretty simple kind of there how that works. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go through, I'm going to set up my computer and kind of just show you how this thing actually works on some typing text. I'll just type text because it doesn't really work well for like a typing test, because you have to kind of be looking at this to type. Once you kind of get comfortable with it, I mean, you could probably go faster, but for now, I'm not fast enough for that. So we're going to go through, I'm going to show you how it works now. So I'm going to try to explain this as clearly as I can. I have a notepad open on my screen here. I, of course, have the keyboard here. I don't know how this is laid out on the video. It might just be like cutting back and forth, or it might be overlaid. We'll see how that goes. I'm doing this basically live. I'm going to do it one take, so lots of ums and ahs, but I'm going to try to explain this thing here. So what we have is just a notepad here, and then I want to just do some typing on it, kind of talk about some of the punctuation stuff, and then the special function layer that I have, because it does stray a little bit from normal T9. I kind of changed some things, like mainly down here, we don't have the, I believe this would be asterisk, and then this would be a hashtag. I just kind of made those shift and function keys pretty much. But basically, if we want to type something in here, so I'm just going to select here, I want to type hello. So I'm going to actually just hold my shift key, and then I'm going to type twice on 4, and you'll see that gives us an H. I'll leave my shift key off now, and then I'll go to the 3, and I'll press that twice to get an E. 5, we want to type it 3 times, so 1, 2, 3 to get an L. We'll do that again, 1, 2, 3. And then we want to do O, which is 6, 3 times, so 1, 2, 3. We get hello just like that. So pretty simple to understand there. Basically, each letter corresponds to a number of presses. If we want to get Z, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll get Z, and then we can just kind of delete that if we want to. Now, what you're probably thinking at this point is, how are we going to do some punctuation? Now, it's important to understand this keyboard is pretty much for simple stuff. You know, you're not going to be coding with this. I mean, there are ways you could probably modify the Keymap to do stuff like that, but basically I did basic punctuation. pretty much asked ChatGPT. I was like, what's the most common punctuation? I kind of took that into account and put that where I needed it. So the one thing that is pretty common is, of course, a period in the English language, at least. It probably is the same in a lot of other languages. But on space here, we have space. If we just press that, we will get space. We can go back. That's pretty simple. But on iOS, at least, I believe Android also does it. If you double tap space, so if we double tap this, you'll get a period just like that. On iOS, it will technically add another space after, but maybe I'll do that in the firmware. I don't know, but for now, it just kind of goes like that. And then I also put my other important like sentence enders on here. So if I go back and I type it twice, well, twice is period as I just explained, but if I type it 3 times, so 1, 2, 3, we'll get a question mark. If we go back, we can type it 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll get an exclamation point. So kind of the most common sentence enders are right on space there, depending on how many times you press it. Now, there are also other punctuations. So if I go back, we have this one key up here, which is, I'm calling it the symbol key. Essentially how this would work on the original T9 layout is you pretty much would just cycle through them. So you press it, press it, press it. I tried doing that with QMK and didn't really have much success. So what I pretty much did is that I have once you get an apostrophe, twice is a comma, 3 times is a semicolon, and then 4 times is a slash, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason those are a little bit weird on there is that they're actually meant to be shifted. So if I actually go back, the primary one on here is really the apostrophe. So once is an apostrophe, but if you hold shift and press it, you'll get your double quotes. So that's kind of the most important one that I put first on there. We do have, if you press it twice, your comma, so that's kind of the other one. And then the 3 times, I think, was the colon or the semicolon. But if you actually hold shift and then go 1, 2, 3, well, 4 is the slash. I'm getting a little confused here, maybe confusing you a bit, but if we hold it and go 1, 2, 3, we'll get the semicolon. The 4th one for the slash, if you hold it 4 times, see, it's a little confusing. 1, 2, 3, 4, you get a question mark, or 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just because it's the default key in QMK. It's basically the slash and question mark key, but that's basically punctuation. Now, the only other thing about the core typing experience on this you really need to know is how do you get the numbers, and that's pretty simple. You just basically hold it. So you just hold the number, and it will give you the number there. Pretty simple on that. Backspace to kind of go back. But then also, since those numbers are just corresponding to normal numbers inside of like a keyboard, if we actually hold shift and press them, you're then going to get their like symbols. Or what am I doing here? What is that doing? My bad. I was pressing them, not holding them. So we hold them, and you'll see now that we can get just our little symbols that are normally on those. So if you want to type parentheses, you could actually do like that and kind of get them. The only other thing at this point is I'm going to just back up here all the way. So we'll delete all that. I'll add my period back there. Now I just had to talk about the other one that it does have on here is that we do have some normal kind of keys on here. I don't remember exactly where they are on the key map. Like I mentioned, it's a little bit confusing, but the one thing I do have is a combo. So if you press shift and delete, you will get enter. But also if you hold this key, and then I believe it is 1, is it 3? I think it's 3. So if you hold this as your secondary layer key and you press 3, you'll get enter there. But then also you will get arrow keys on it. So if you hold this, and yet again, 2 is up, so you can go up, 5 is down, and then we'll just go up here, 6 is right, and then 4 is left. There are some other things on that layer, such as tab, and I believe I have caps. Is this caps lock? Yes, so holding it in 7 will give us caps lock. But that's the basic idea of it. I think this probably explained it. Hopefully, I don't know how long. I'm looking at my recorder here, so it's about 5 minutes for this section. Basically, at its core, though, you're pretty much going to just use this to do things like, well, let me go over here. We'll go down. We'll just go like, I don't know, test, right? You know, you're going to do simple typing with it. It's halfway a meme keyboard, halfway actually usable, because say if you had an accessibility need, you could use this as a single-handed one, maybe. I mean, I know a lot of people use my Scotto Frog for that, but this is probably another option in that kind of realm of stuff now. But with that, this is what it looks like. We'll go do the outro now, which I actually already filmed before this. So yeah, you'll see me talking about the keyboard on the outro right about now. So yeah, hopefully that was a good explanation of how this works. It really isn't that complicated, and especially some of my older viewers, I was kind of right on the edge of when T9 was kind of phasing out, but I did have like a Nokia like slide up phone that actually did have T9 on it. Probably some of my younger viewers won't know really anything about T9, and they just know iPhones are like flip up keyboards. But I think it came out really, really nice here. I do like how it looks, and I really like that I added the more rounded edges here. It just kind of makes it a little bit like more comfortable to hold here. Or you could just of course use it like this if you wanted to for like a single-handed keyboard. But this was kind of a dumb keyboard that kind of was a little more practical. I have a way dumber keyboard coming out towards the end of this month, probably maybe end of this month into next month maybe. That's just pretty much a meme, but we will get into that later on. I've kind of teased in some of my socials, but with that, comment, rate, and subscribe as usual, and I'll see you next time.